Sausages have always been sold as comfort in a casing. Cheap, quick, and filling. They're the food of ball games, backyard grills, and family breakfasts on cold mornings. For decades, people trusted sausage as the safe option when bills were high and time was short. But here's the dark truth. Behind that sizzle lies a story most Americans never hear. Processed meat, especially sausages, has been classified by health experts as a cancer risk, and some of the most trusted sausage brands in the United States have faced scandals, recalls, and controversies that make their glossy packaging feel like a mask hiding something rotten underneath. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on 7 sausage brands you should never buy, because what's inside isn't tradition, it's betrayal. Johnsonville sausages. Johnsonville has built its empire on an image of backyard cookouts, family laughter, and bratwursts sizzling over charcoal flames. Their commercials show fathers flipping sausages on the grill, kids running barefoot in the grass, and neighbors gathered around picnic tables. Johnsonville wants to sell you not just food, but a lifestyle of wholesome togetherness. But once you peel back the label, a different story comes to light. In recent years, Johnsonville has been forced to recall tens of thousands of pounds of its sausages after consumers found chunks of foreign material hiding in the meat. One recall involved pieces of rubber, another involved plastic. Think about that. Families buying dinner ended up chewing on fragments of machinery. These weren't small boutique recalls. They were massive, stretching across states and involving products sold in major supermarkets. The company tried to reassure the public by saying no injuries had been reported. But anyone who has cracked a tooth on a hard object in food knows the truth. Injuries don't always get reported. And when the customer is an older American living on a fixed income, a dental bill from a contaminated sausage can mean financial disaster. Beyond recalls, the nutritional profile of Johnsonville sausages tells its own tale of hidden dangers. Their breakfast sausage, for example, sneaks in corn syrup as one of the first ingredients. That means you're not just eating meat, you're eating added sugar dressed up as tradition. Each serving can deliver nearly a quarter of your daily limit of saturated fat in just a few bites. For older adults already battling high blood pressure, diabetes, or cholesterol, that's a trap disguised as breakfast. Johnsonville's advertising may show joy around the grill, but the reality is far more bitter. A brand selling convenience that comes laced with hidden health risks and repeated contamination scandals. Hillshire Farm sausages. Hillshire Farm has always leaned on nostalgia. Its red barn logo is meant to whisper of simpler times, of honest farming, and of food crafted with care. Many older Americans grew up trusting Hillshire, pulling smoked sausages from the fridge as if they were a little taste of home. But the company's track record is anything but comforting. Not long ago, inspectors forced Hillshire to recall nearly 16,000 pounds of smoked sausage after discovering bone fragments mixed into the links. Imagine unwrapping a package of sausage only to bite down on sharp shards that should never have been there in the first place. For elderly consumers with fragile teeth, such contamination isn't just unpleasant, it's dangerous. But physical contamination isn't the only concern. Hillshire's sausages are also loaded with preservatives like sodium nitrite and potassium lactate, compounds used to keep meat looking pink and tasting salty long after it should have spoiled. These chemicals may extend shelf life, but health experts warn they can also contribute to heart disease, hypertension, and even cancer when eaten regularly. Hillshire Farm's marketing still shows slow smoking, cheerful barns, and family dinners, But behind that carefully painted picture is a factory system that has turned wholesome-sounding sausages into industrial products spiked with additives. For seniors looking for comfort food, Hilscher offers only an illusion. The reality is far more disturbing. Processed meat, padded with chemicals, unsafe recalls, and corporations profiting off the very customers who trust them most. Jimmy Dean sausages. Jimmy Dean isn't just a brand, it's a voice, a smile, and a promise of hearty breakfasts that feel like home. For years, commercials leaned on the image of Jimmy Dean himself, the country singer turned entrepreneur, telling America he'd never sell food he wouldn't feed his own family. That personal touch worked. Millions trusted Jimmy Dean as a symbol of authenticity. But the reality, hiding inside those sausage links, tells a different tale. In one major recall, nearly 30,000 pounds of Jimmy Dean heat-and-serve sausages had to be pulled from shelves after customers discovered pieces of metal wire inside the meat. Let that sink in. People sitting down to breakfast with their children were served metal fragments disguised as pork. Federal authorities labeled the recall a Class 1, meaning the product posed a high risk of serious injury or death if consumed. Though the company reassured the public, the damage was done. Trust was broken. Even without the contamination, Jimmy Dean sausages are packed with questionable ingredients. The original pork sausage recipe includes corn syrup and sugar right after the meat itself. That means these sausages aren't just salty, they're sweetened too. And to make sure the flavor hits hard, Jimmy Dean adds MSG, a flavor enhancer some people try to avoid because it can trigger headaches and sensitivities. On top of all that, just one sandwich made with their sausage can deliver nearly half a day's worth of saturated fat. For older Americans, many already living with cardiovascular risks, that's like loading a time bomb into your morning biscuit. The smiling commercials may sell comfort, but behind the branding lies a dangerous truth. Jimmy Dean breakfasts come with a hidden cost that shows up later in doctor's bills and hospital visits. Bob Evans sausages. Bob Evans built its reputation on home-style diners across America. The company's name evokes farm breakfasts, warm coffee, and sausage patties sizzling on a skillet. Shoppers seeing the Bob Evans logo in supermarkets often assume they're getting that same country authenticity. But when you look closer at what's inside the package, a troubling story appears. One of the most concerning ingredients in Bob Evans sausages is MSG. It shows up clearly on the label, mixed alongside pork, water, and preservatives like potassium lactate. MSG is used to boost flavor, but many health-conscious Americans try to avoid it. For some, it can trigger headaches or sensitivities. For others, it's simply a symbol of over-processing, a chemical shortcut to taste. Bob Evans may have introduced a separate, naturally line without MSG, but the core sausage products still rely on it. And the issues don't stop there. Bob Evans sausages, like many others, are high in fat and sodium. For seniors trying to manage hypertension, that's a hidden danger. While Bob Evans hasn't faced major recalls like some competitors, the ingredients list alone raises serious questions. If a brand built on the image of farm-fresh honesty needs to lean on MSG and chemical preservatives, how much of that country goodness is real? Bob Evans sells nostalgia, but the sausages themselves tell a different truth. Convenience dressed in the clothes of tradition. Armour and Eckrich sausages. Armour and Eckrich are brands that many working families grew up with. Their sausages filled lunchboxes, ballpark grills, and budget-friendly dinners. But both brands, now owned by giant corporations, have faced scandals that reveal how fragile that trust can be. In one of the largest recalls of its kind, Armour and Eckrich were forced to pull more than 90,000 pounds of fully cooked sausage from distribution after pieces of metal were found inside. Think about what that means. Thousands of families buying dinner unknowingly took home food laced with fragments of machinery. Even though this recall mostly affected food service products, it was a chilling reminder of what can slip through the cracks in massive factory production. Beyond the recall, the ingredients in Eckrich sausages paint their own disturbing picture. Many varieties list mechanically separated chicken, a paste made by grinding leftover carcasses under pressure until bone and tissue blend together. Additives like MSG, sodium nitrite, and corn syrup round out the recipe. These aren't wholesome cuts of meat. They're industrial slurries held together with chemicals, then sold under labels showing happy families and backyard barbecues. Armour and Eckrich may want to look like family brands, but their sausages reveal a reality of shortcuts, contamination, and processing so heavy it barely resembles real food. Hormel sausages. Hormel is a household name in America, best known for Spam and canned chili. But Hormel also makes sausages, and their products are some of the most heavily processed on the shelf. The problem starts with the ingredient list. Hormel's sausages often contain preservatives like BHT and TBHQ, synthetic chemicals used to keep fats from going rancid. These substances are allowed in tiny amounts, but studies have linked them to potential long-term health risks. It's a trade-off: longer shelf life for the company, but more chemical exposure for the customer. Hormel sausages also frequently include MSG, another red flag for anyone seeking minimally processed foods. Combined with high sodium levels and a fatty profile, this makes Hormel one of the least heart-friendly sausage brands available. For older Americans, the risks are especially sharp. A diet heavy in Hormel sausages means loading up on chemicals, fat, and salt every time you sit down to eat. The brand's advertisements often lean on tradition and family, but tradition shouldn't come with TBHQ and MSG mixed into every bite. Hormel's sausages are less about home-style meals and more about industrial preservation. Nathan's famous hot dogs. Nathan's Famous may be best known for its legendary Coney Island hot dog stand and eating contests, but make no mistake, hot dogs are sausages, and Nathan's products deserve scrutiny. In 2017, Nathan's was forced into a massive nationwide recall of more than 200,000 pounds of beef franks after inspectors discovered metal fragments in the meat. The timing was chilling. Just before Memorial Day, when families across America were firing up their grills, customers thought they were buying summer tradition. Instead, they were nearly buying metal-laced meat. Even when contamination isn't in the headlines, Nathan's hot dogs remain classic examples of processed meat at its worst. They're packed with sodium and nitrates, the very additives experts warn against. The brand has built an empire on nostalgia and patriotism. But the truth is that every bite carries the same risks as any other industrial sausage. For seniors already managing heart conditions or cancer risks, Nathan's isn't a safe indulgence. It's a reminder that even the most iconic brands can harbor hidden dangers behind their marketing smiles. A better way forward. The truth about sausage is simple. Across brand after brand, we've seen the same problems repeat: contamination scandals with rubber, plastic, or metal pieces, heavy use of chemical preservatives like sodium nitrite, added sugars and flavor enhancers like MSG, and nutritional profiles so loaded with salt and fat they set people up for disease rather than nourishment. For older Americans in particular, these aren't just minor issues. They're risks that can cut years off a life, quietly and cruelly, under the disguise of comfort food. But there are alternatives. Smaller companies like Applegate and Aidells make sausages without added nitrates, without MSG, and with ingredients you can actually pronounce. Local butchers in towns across America still grind meat in front of you, seasoning it with real herbs and spices instead of chemicals. And for those willing to try something different, plant-based sausages provide a way to enjoy the flavors without the risks of processed meat. The choice is yours. You can keep trusting the smiling barns and nostalgic ads of giant corporations, or you can demand food that truly respects your health. The next time you reach for a pack of sausages, ask yourself, are you buying comfort, or are you buying betrayal wrapped in plastic?